Watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix and became instantly obsessed with playing chess. I did. I watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix over like 3 days, binged the whole series, and ever since we put the show down, I've been playing chess every day, just for like the last 7 days. So I'm going to share with you my journey where I learned to play and then how I've been playing. And we'll stream a game right now. So Queen's Gambit on Netflix, great show. So it's like three different people's stories all in one. So chess, this is your board right here. You white goes first, black defends, and each player has a certain time limit. So you do have to kind of make your moves quickly. But basically you get one move every turn and you take turns. And the whole point is to trap the king. And here's the king right here. You want to trap the opponent's king. So each chess piece has its moves it can do in the way that it can attack. The pawns you see all lined up here, they can move one space, or if it is, they can only move forward. And if it's their first turn, if it's their first time being moved, they can go 2 spaces. But after that, they can only go 1 space. Now, pawns attack, they cannot attack forward. So if I want to capture this pawn of the opponent's team, I actually have to come up with this pawn, and then I can attack diagonally. Only 1 space diagonally can pawns attack. So those are your pawns. Next are your rooks. So let's get this pawn out of the way. Rooks can go any direction in a straight line, any length. So they can go, or it's only left and right, up and down. They cannot go diagonally, but rooks can go the whole length of the board, up or down. And they can capture players. They can go, if you have this, if I cleared this lane, this rook, they cannot jump players, but I could go all the way up and capture that pawn. The knight moves in an L shape. So the knight can jump players, and it moves in L shape. It can go 1 space, 2 spaces, and then over a space to the side. So that's the L shape. It can go there, and it can go there. Both knights do the same thing. The board is symmetric, except for one side you got a king, one side you got a queen. So the knights are good for jumping players, and remember that L shape. So like if the knight was here, well, the pawn would attack him anyway. Next is the bishop. You got to clear a way for the bishop. So bishops move diagonally any length. So let's say this pawn moves up. It's his first time. They go 2 spaces. The bishop can now come up diagonally to any one of these spaces on the diagonal. So I'm going to hold the bishop there, and then I can strike with the bishop into there. Then the queen. The queen is the most powerful piece on the whole board. The queen can go diagonally, up, down, any length. Any length, any distance, any turn, or not, any, any length. Diagonally, up, down, left, right. It doesn't matter. The queen can't jump players. So you don't want to get your queen killed. Your queen is the most powerful player on the board. Keep her safe. Then the king. The king, you can't get killed, because if the king gets trapped, then you lose the game. That's the whole point. So you got to protect your king, but the king can move any direction, just like the queen, except for the king can only go 1 space at a time. So the king can just go boop, 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 1 space at a time. That's it. So the king can kind of defend himself, but in only a very finite space. And then you already know about the rest. So those are the players. Now let's play a game. I'm going to play a real live game. So that's leechess.org. Leechess.org is the website that I use to kind of learn the basics, because you can learn for free, and you can also play for free on leechess.org. But so for learning, leechess.org is great. You can do this editor where you can play around with the pieces and set up moves and just conceptualize what you would do. But for playing, I actually like chess.com. You can make a free account, and they start you off at a really low rating. I'm almost the lowest rating because I'm just getting my butt whooped for the last week. But I like the gameplay of chess.org, chess.com. They've got timers. You can do 10-minute games, 20-minute games. You can do a game where you just play one move a day, and your opponent the next day or that day will play one move that day. So you can get really fast games, really long games, all for free. Their learning that they have was actually really great if you go to learn, but you have to sign up for a premium account to be able to actually do more than like one of their modules. That's why I was learning on leadchess.org. Okay, so let's play a game. We're going to do a 10-minute game, and we're just going to stream it right now. So I'm black. That means I have to go second. Okay, so strategy. What you want to do is, of course, I'm on a timer every time, so I'm going to move because I don't want my time to run out. I'm just going to come up and just block the way for that pawn. Remember, pawns can only attack diagonally, so that pawn is safe. Now, what you want to do is, the whole strategy, or that I know of so far, is do a couple opening moves to allow room for your powerful pieces to get out into space to attack. And then second is you want to, if you can, castle your king, and I'll show you how to do that. And then the third, I forget the third. That's why I'm losing all my games. So that knight is out. That knight can go here or here. And that knight cannot attack any of my positions right now. So I'm okay there. This pawn cannot attack any of my positions. I'm going to pull out this knight. Oh wait, that's defended. I'm actually going to open up a lane here. So now my queen can get out this way, this diagonal, and my bishop will get out on this diagonal. And then I'll bring my knights out. My knights can jump the pawns. So, okay, so they've just defended that pawn with that pawn. So right now, all my players are defended because these pawns can attack on the diagonal. So if someone captures this pawn can defend and come capture that piece. So while I'm still not under attack, I can maybe, let's pull out a knight who can start wreaking havoc. Okay, and now I want to have a game plan. Like, I want to know what I'm doing. Right now, my only goal is just to not make stupid mistakes. Like, not go into a position where they take my player and I lose that piece and I can't take the piece that took it. So that pawn's not attacking. I'm still not under attack by anyone, so I can still set up. Now I can pull my bishop out to here and he's still safe. So I'm just gonna do that. So now this bishop can attack on this diagonal and this diagonal. This knight can attack here or here. This pawn can attack here or there. This bishop is defended by this pawn. So if someone comes up and takes this bishop, I can take that player with that pawn. The knight here is defended by this pawn on that diagonal. Oh, and now I can castle. So your king can only move one place. But on my next turn, unless I'm under attack, then I can move the king over 2 spaces. If you haven't moved this king or your rook yet, then you can castle. And that's where you go take the king and go here, and then it flips the rook onto the other side of it. So now you've got these wing pawns acting as a front barrier, the rook acting as a side barrier, and now my king is really well defended. So this bishop, they just moved their bishop into here. That's pretty aggressive. What am I going to do about that? But if you notice, this bishop actually has no attack on any of my players right now, so I'm not super concerned about that. I'm not really going to worry about that bishop too much. I am running low on time, so I need to start making moves a little quicker. If I go, okay, so I can move my knight here, and no player of theirs can attack it. So I might just nestle my knight right there, because why not? I honestly don't have a better idea. And also, it'll clear up my lane for my queen to get out into space. All right, so knight's going to move up to here. No one can reach it, so he's safe. Then, unless I'm under attack, I think my next move will be to bring the queen out into space so that she's got some attacking lanes. Now, if you see how the timer works, I made my move and I'm waiting for white to play, so my clock stops. And if you notice, white's clock is ticking. Now, if we're still playing and one of our clocks gets to 0, that means we automatically lose. So you want to make all your plays. You want to finish the game before that reaches 0. Okay, so this knight's not attacking anyone. I'm still safe. I can get my queen out. I could take this pawn right here, but then that knight could then just destroy me. So my queen will come out to here, where she is still safe, but she's got kind of an attacking lane. She can go up or diagonal, and even if this opens up, I can start bringing the queen up into the middle. Now I'm still thinking about this bishop, but again, the worst this bishop can do is attack empty squares. I don't care too much right now about that. I'm only at the stage where I'm thinking the next turn. I'm not even thinking the next turn, really. I'm still thinking like just this turn right now. But what you really want to do to be able to win games is think 2, 3, 4 turns ahead. So you start setting up moves where you have a coordinated attack and you're thinking several moves ahead. Right now, I'm really only just thinking about not getting my pieces killed without any kind of good reason behind it. Like if I'm gonna get a piece taken, then it needs to be because I've got some other plan that hinges on that piece being taken. Right now, I'm just hoping to not make stupid mistakes and get pieces taken for no reason. And I'm hoping, I mean, at this current level, it's pretty low rating. I run into players who it's really just which one of us makes the mistake first, where we get a piece taken and then the game kind of shifts in balance, where then all of a sudden they're down a really powerful player, and then because of that I can take advantage and start picking off their pieces. So like if you can get your opponent's queen out of the game quick, that's really nice. So speaking of so I really have to form a game plan of attack, and this is good. See their time. They're thinking a lot about this next move, and they're taking up a lot of time. So this next move better be really good. Wow. What's that all about? Okay, that's probably defending that pawn, because if I take my queen and take that pawn, that rook can swing down and get my queen. But they could have just done it with the knight. So I don't know why they took all that time. Well, okay, now, because if I come up with the queen and take the knight, they can swing over with that rook. So you want to think about who you're taking and who's defending who you're taking. Because I don't want to lose my queen. Ooh, but now... Nope, never mind. I thought I had someone I can take with this knight. I could get this pawn with this knight, but it doesn't really do me any good because the king can just come up and take that knight. There's no real point to that. I'm thinking I might want to actually force this bishop. I'm going to move my pawn up here so that if they don't move this bishop back out of their attack position here, then my pawn will come up and take that bishop. Now they can go ahead and use their bishop to take my pawn, but I've got this pawn here that can just attack on the diagonal. So I'll trade one of my pawns for that bishop, no problem. I'll give up a pawn for taking their powerful player. Easy. So my hope is that they're thinking something else and they move some other position somewhere else and they leave this bishop here, because I'd love to just take this bishop with a pawn. But what are they doing? Okay, good. They're taking a lot of time. So, I mean, if I win on just time alone, I don't care. It's still a win. Because I've lost plenty of times on just time alone, where I just took way too long and I lost just because I ran out of time. So I'm okay with winning on time. Fine by me. Oh, okay. So they took my pawn with that bishop. So I'm just going to go ahead and get revenge. And we traded. So they got a pawn, but I got the bishop down here. I would rather have their bishop and give up a pawn. Okay, so now I really got to think what I'm going to do next. Okay, so that rook is now in attack position down here. It can come down and swing and get this pawn. And the only defense this pawn has, okay, the queen can defend. So I can come up and get this rook with this bishop. They can then get my bishop with the pawn, and then my knight can get it. And after my knight gets that position, no one will be left on their side to take out my knight. So I'll be up a player. And I'm just going to do it. I'm going to attack with the bishop. Ooh, yep. I'm going to attack with the bishop. Or do I want to get it with the knight first? This bishop's in a really good position. This knight's just kind of hanging out up here. Not really doing much, but just kind of wreaking havoc. So I'm just going to have it wreak havoc. Boom. Take out that rook. Now they're probably going to take out my knight with that pawn. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But what will be cool is once that pawn comes up and takes this knight, if they do, then my bishop can come up and take that pawn right here. And then my bishop will have a clear line of attack to their king. They'll be able to get out of it easily, but at least it's, you know, an aggressive move where you're making them think on their toes, especially as their time is running out. The more thinking that this player has to do. Okay, so yep, they just move their king out of the way real quick. Now this bishop is pretty vulnerable up here, so I gotta make sure I'm defending that bishop. So I think to defend that bishop, because that queen can come over. Actually, that queen doesn't even have a line of sight on my bishop. That bishop's kind of safe right now. I might do another attack. I don't have anyone set up for another attack. Okay, so I really gotta think what I want to do. And I'm running out of time, so let's activate these players over here. Let's get this bishop up here, at least. So now this bishop can come up this diagonal. And at least I've forced, this king can't move now into any of these white squares because this bishop can attack this whole diagonal. So if this bishop has got these squares, this bishop has these squares, my queen, if I move up my queen to here, she will have these squares. It'll trap the king, but this player can still do all kinds of stuff with these other players. I need to then bring up this knight somehow and get the king under direct attack by this knight while the king is pinned by my other players. So I've got a decent pin going on once I move my queen up and get her to attack this diagonal. Okay, so their time is running down. Okay, so I've played like every day now for a week. I'm not going to keep up this rate that I'm playing because it's ridiculous. So part of me of making this video is so that I can kind of chill out on playing, because I'll have documented how I learned so I can, you know, maybe chill out a little bit and get back to my other studies. But it's fun. I mean, this has been really fun to play and get back into. Last time I played chess was like when I was 5 years old. And I remember like the second time I'd ever met one of my grandpas, game abandoned. I didn't even want that. I wanted to actually win. An abandoned's lame. I mean, that means the player just like logged off. Okay, well, that was fun. You saw how it went. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going on another game, but that's how it's gonna be. So thanks for joining. I'm gonna stick around if you want to see another game. Hopefully we can finish it. But that's how I've learned to play chess in a week. Have fun, and I'm gonna actually keep learning new things and maybe make some videos. But let's play another game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, I'm white. I get to go first. So I should have a strategy. Like, what do I want to actually do? You can kind of think of this as like a door. I'm going to open up my door. These pawns are going to swing open. And my time's clicking, so I'm just going to go. I'm going to swing left. No. We're going to swing this way because we're going to try to bring out this bishop and this queen out to attack. So bring up that pawn first. Remember, first time can go 2 spaces. Okay, so that knight can attack this pawn. So I want to defend. So I'm going to move this pawn up so that if anyone takes this pawn can come up and attack on the diagonal. So this pawn's defended by this pawn. This pawn is defended by this pawn. Now this pawn can now attack, and then they will have their knight to attack that space also. So in that case, let's bring up this knight, who is also now defending this pawn. So we could basically trade pawns and trade knights, essentially. And if they want to do that, it's fine by me. All right, so now they've got a little wall opened up, kind of similar to mine. And I'm going to go ahead and be reckless and bring my queen out. I'm going to go to, no, if I go there, then I can attack. If I go here, it's not under attack. But what does that do for me? Does that really do anything for me? Maybe I want to bring another knight out, actually, first. Remember, I can castle over here. Knight, or a king to this side. Switch places with the rook. So you do want to clear out the king's side of the back line first. So let's go ahead and move out this knight. So that, and then all we have to do is bring out this bishop, and then I can castle my king and get him tucked in tight in this little corner where he's protected. Because the time that one time I was mentioning that I played with my grandpa, he beat me in like 5 moves, and it's called like the idiot's mate or something stupid, where it's like if you're playing against someone who only knows how to move the pieces and nothing else, then you can checkmate them in 5 moves, and he did that to me, and that was the last time I ever played. Okay, so this bishop can attack my knight, but I can defend with this pawn, so I'm okay if this guy mid-hitting wants to trade their bishop for my knight. That's fine. Or I can even threaten that bishop. I'm just going to go ahead and say, get the hell out of my town. And now, if they don't move this bishop, oh, okay, so they took my knight. I will get revenge. Ooh, now I'm just going to go ahead. And I was going to bring my queen out anyway. Might as well. It's a safe spot. No one can attack. So I'm going to bring my queen out and attack that bishop. Now, this pawn can attack. Ooh, this is bad. All right. They can come down with their knight and attack this position once I take this pawn. So they might do that. But if they do that, I'll take their knight with my queen. So in the meantime, now, while I'm thinking, while they're moving, I got to think about what my game plan is. Who do I have left? Okay, this bishop has a clear lane out. So I can move this bishop out, probably to like here, because here it's under attack, here it's under attack by that pawn. So these pawns are defending these squares. Oh, big move, bringing out the queen like that. So who can this queen attack? This queen can attack my knight. I can attack with the pawn. Okay, ooh, that queen can take that pawn. So I'm in a bad position right here. This is not good. Basically, this queen can take this position because that knight can come down and defend that position. So I need to find a way. Can my knight move somewhere where they can then go ahead and attack that position? It cannot. The only thing I can do is I can move my bishop here, and then my bishop can defend this position. They can take my bishop, but then I'll take the queen. And I'll give up a bishop for a queen, because again, if I can get rid of this player's queen, that's good for me. So if they want to take this bishop or this pawn or this knight, I'm okay, because then they're all defended, and I will take that queen for doing that. The problem is this right here, because that knight is also can attack, and then whoever takes that knight, the queen can attack. So there might be a bloodbath right here. Oh, I forgot the third rule: center control. You fight for the center because most attacks have to go through the center. So that's why you want that pawn presence in the center. So they just moved that pawn up. Right now, I'm not threatening anyone. I'm not really thinking that far ahead. How can I get this queen out of here? Okay, I can bring this bishop up and directly attack the queen if they don't move the queen. And this bishop will be defended right here because of this pawn. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, if they don't move their queen, I will just go ahead and take the queen. So we'll see, and I'll probably do it. I'll do it with this bishop right here. So now, who can the queen attack? The queen can attack this pawn. That pawn's got no defense. And the queen can attack the knight, and that knight's defended by that pawn. So let's move. Ooh, okay, so I can either protect this pawn or castle my king. I should probably castle my king. But this queen can come in and just clear me out. So the king's out under attack. No one's nearby. So I'm going to protect this pawn. Even though you can give up pawns, but like I'm just not going to right now. So another really cool strategy game. So like when you think of strategy games, you think of chess. But I'm a Westerner. Go, though, is the oldest, most complex strategy game on the planet, probably. I'm sure well, yeah, if you go oldest plus strategy, I think Go has got everything beat. So beyond chess is Go. And there was a really cool Netflix documentary about Go, about how they finally got AI to beat the best human Go player. AI beat chess players much quicker than they've been able to beat Go players because Go has more possibilities and is a harder game. Okay, this queen is sitting here. I kind of want to flush her out, so I'm going to just move this pawn up because then I can attack on the diagonal, and that pawn will be defended. So let's go ahead and do that. Or, ooh, now do I castle? You know what? No one's under attack. I'm just going to waste my time trying to... They're just going to move the queen out. That's easy. You know what? Screw it. So probably the next play, if I'm not under direct attack, I will castle my king. Again, get the king hid behind these pawns. It also activates this rook. So you want to get your players out into space where they have open lanes. And right now, these rooks, they start out in the corners. They're not very powerful in these corners. They can't do anything because they're all blocked in by your own players. So when you castle, if you notice, the rook is now more towards the center of the board. Granted, it's still pretty locked in by my players, but it's easier to get this rook now into gameplay. Ooh, who'd they just take? That sounded, I heard a click. Okay, so I didn't see that. That's the problem. I was not paying attention. So that bishop came down, wiped out that pawn. Now, if I bring up, I can bring up and take out that bishop. I mean, I got to do that. It's a free bishop. Granted, they can take out this pawn with that queen, but that's a risk I'm willing to take because I would love to eat this bishop right now. Now, they'll probably take because it's an undefended position. Yep. So now I can go here because, sure, the queen can take this rook, but I'll take the queen with this pawn. So again, I'll trade a rook for a queen, no problem. I got both their bishops now. If you notice down here, I've got one of their pawns and two of their bishops, and they've got three of my pawns and one knight. So the queen can move in and take out this pawn. That's fine because, again, my bishop can go backwards and take out that. And then if the queen moves down, my rook can swing over and attack. So I'm not super... Oh, they left the queen unattended. Look at this, my knight. Oh, my knight just took their queen. And there we go. They just resigned. Because they knew right there, that mistake of leaving their queen undefended, I was able to take my knight, swing down, take out the queen, and then they literally, all it takes was that, having their queen gone, they know that the rest of the game is going to be an uphill battle. And they resigned. They just didn't want to face that battle. So there you have it. We didn't get a checkmate, but we're not going to stream 50 games until maybe eventually I do get a checkmate. But there you have it. One loss of connection, one resignation. I'm going to count those both as wins. All right, thanks for joining in. That was fun. Let's play something else next time.